You guys are little pixels in my phone, and I'm kicking my feet there, and you guys know I exist. But as soon as I hang up the phone, I'm gonna like wake the fuck back up, and I'll be like, what if they forgot that I exist? Like I have no concept of like object or emotional permanence. It's really hard for me. Like I wake up and I forget that like everything had that was yesterday had happened. Like I wake up thinking that like it was just like this is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to think this. I don't know what I am or what I'm tweaking on, but yeah, that's how my brain be functioning. Uh, what am I talking about? Who am I? Never mind. My bad.
You're good.
No, dude.
Me and Kaiju.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of what we talk about. Just like ontological crap. Like nature being, why we're here.
Yeah, but no, I get that, Curry. But like I said before, it's like you said, like you said maybe like this is supposed to happen, like kind of thing. I think it's like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
everything happens for a reason, but I don't like the way you word it. It's as if you're saying it like you deserve it. You deserve that happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're
I think
saying?
I think you pick
Is that what you're saying?
at least.
Huh? I mean, I don't know. I wake up, and then like the shit that had happened the day prior, I feel like that had always existed, right? You know how like the inevitable march of time, like time will go on, right? I
Yeah.
feel like the beginning of time is when I wake up every day, and everything before that was just like lore. Like
Your
That's-
brain
I
like
mean,
sorts
that's-
it while you
like-
sleep.
I mean, in a way,
Yeah.
everyone's in the same kind of book because the past is just a memento. It's something we can never go back to or control, and we don't even have a sense of if it actually happened or not, because it could have just been implanted in like our brains. The universe could have been created
That's
2
what I
seconds
think.
ago, and we have no
Yeah.
idea. But that's the thing, is that we're all in the same book. We're all in that exact same kind of thing. So it's like the thing is like, that's why you enjoy it when it's in the now, like right now, us talking, because tomorrow you will, have that same kind of thing again, like you're saying, but it'll be the same for, it's the same for everyone, really. It all just
That's
comes
why I
down
get
to
scared to
perception.
sleep.
Yeah,
lot of the
no, I
time.
get that, but
It's
I mean,
like-
at the same time, it's like, but here, let me ask you this also, Kyrie. If this was to go on forever, do you think it would have value? Do you think if we were on this call forever and we talked about the same things again and again an infinite amount of times for infinity, do you think our words would have value then?
But I know it's infinity, and like we could always. I mean, infinity, right? We're gonna
That's
end up
true as
hitting
well.
the same topic, right? There's an infinite amount of topics we could talk about, but if you give a monkey, right, it's gonna type it like even infinity. There's infinity combinations of infinity letters of infinity things.
Yeah.
Eventually, that monkey is gonna type itself again, right? But
Yeah.
for the fact that we could have an infinite amount of infinite conversations, like it's. I think that
But it's like, do you want to do that forever as well? It's like, do you want to be locked into that for eternity and only be that?
well, I
It's-
mean.
Because then you wouldn't have a
No.
choice. Because then you wouldn't have a choice. It's the whole point is that we have these limited, we have a finite amount of time to do finite amount of things, but it's the fact that we get to choose, that we do die. We do have an end date, but we get to choose before we're dead. That's what makes us different from, say, for example, like if everything's to come from, the one single origin point, which some people call God, some people call Allah, some people call the Great Spirit. It's all basically the same kind of word for the same kind of archetype. It's
The beginning.
it's a religious archetype. It's something that's found in all religions. We're all trying to get at the same thing with the same materials, so it only makes sense that everything is so similar at the core of it all. But what I'm to get at though is that that's what separates us from that level. I think the whole point of everything existing as it is to enjoy what the creator cannot, which is ignorance and change.
To be in ignorance to some degree.
That's what I said.
Something that the creator cannot do or enjoy himself.
That's
So
what
we
I
can
said.
enjoy it. So we need to be in ignorance and to some degree in order to.
Yeah.
not be
Okay. So
suffering.
basically, yeah. Like Kyrie, if you were to be born knowing everything ever that's ever going to happen, what's the point? And if you were to get everything you wanted when you wanted it, there would also be no point, because
If you knew everything, you would lose your ego.
Value comes from the struggle. Value comes from the struggle, the journey. It's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, because it's so universally true.
It makes
And
you.
it comes from the struggle. It comes from the challenge. It comes from being an ignorant, fragile human being. That's where true value lies, not in the infinite us. It's being here in the now, and then someday we won't be. But then forever in memory. Even when no one is left to remember, we are still stored forever, pretty much. That's
Information and energy in the singularity and all that. I think.
What I talk about. Yeah, that's what I.
This
That's.
topic.
What were you saying?
No, this topic always makes me feel sick. Just thinking really big.
I
makes
used
me
to be
feel
like that, like growing, because I've been trying to get to. Well, I mean, same for anybody. It's like it all starts like the moment you're born. You're always trying to grow from there and trying to build on top of each other. So I've been trying to think about these things since like as far back as I can remember. It's like I've always like there's something more. But like there was like times where I'd be like 6 years old and I would be like thinking, I'm like, okay, if God never existed, then what would there be? And I just sit there and I'm like, what would there be? And I'd like ask myself that. And it's like, you just can't comprehend it, because there wouldn't even be nothing, because nothing is the absence of something. But if there's no such thing as something, there can't be nothing, which is dualism. It's yin yang. That's what it's black and white. So it's like, you can't have one thing without its contrast. And then from there, it just spirals down and stuff. So it is definitely a scary kind of thing. And that's why ignorance is bliss, because it's like for the people who don't even worry about that type of shit and they don't think about that stuff at all, then it never really phases them, because
thoughts cause feelings. It can also give you psychosis.
That's why I'm saying it's
different.
That's why I was saying earlier, Kyrie, value comes from struggle. Value comes from pain. Love comes from pain. And from pain comes love, with love comes pain, and vice versa. It's dualism. It's back and forth. It's a two-way system.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's when people who abuse substances.
Yeah, it's not worth it. No, because it's just frying your dopamine receptors. It's giving you a false sense of happiness, a false sense of reason and meaning. It's just a temporary. It's always just temporary until it kills you.
It's blind hedonism.
It's not what you're actually looking for. You don't want to be searching for drugs to fix your problem, because I have never had alcohol and I don't plan on it. Same with drugs and shit. I have a very personal kind of experience, with that stuff. Because so my mom, she died 2020 from liver failure, because she had alcoholism my entire life and before I was born. So she was always trying to, she was basically my biological grandfather, basically like completely did unspeakable things that some things she's told me that I promised to never tell anybody. And I still have not told anybody, and I'm not going to. But you can assume the kind of things that a father can do in an impoverished home to, his daughter when she's a child and stuff, when the mom's not home and all that stuff. And especially growing up, because they were pedagonic, I think is what it's called, where it's like hardcore, like Catholic kind of shit, where it's like God is basically evil and all that stuff. But no, she broke out of that stuff. She went out to go and be her own person. She got to a point where she thought, God was purely love. And it's like, she went from, she was raised in that kind of household where it was like, God is like going to send you to hell if you do any kind of damn thing. And pedagonic or whatever, I don't know the actual term. I need to look it up, because I actually only found out recently that she was raised that way. But it was like, you had to wear these like old fashion dresses and shit to school. Like you had to have like a strict, it's like how it is in the Middle East where women have to dress in full black. That's how it basically was for her growing up and she was the only white girl at her school as well. Like she was in the worst like kind of area, in Arkansas. So it's like, but it's like she still was able to find the way out of that, and she got into Buddhism. She would meditate a lot. She would do all this kind of stuff to clear her mind. She'd go to like AA meetings, and rehab, and there's so many times I'd go there with my brothers, and I just remember always being there and stuff and hearing the big thing. But one thing that sticks out and still sticks with me throughout all of it, have you ever heard of the Serenity Prayer, Kyrie? It has nothing to do with religion, but it's more so kind of like a message to yourself. It's it goes like this. So it's God grant me the serenity, to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's the big kind of thing where it's basically about how you have no control pretty much over anything, but you can control the now, and that's just what you need to focus on, and know the wisdom to know the difference between when you can and cannot control. Because my mom was so deeply into alcohol, it was like just because the withdrawal. There was so many times where like when she would be on detox, she would hallucinate, and one time she like literally thought she saw like a clown in the backyard, and she got the gun out of the safe and like had the safety off and shit. Like there's the stuff she had to go through was insane. But she always went to rehab for me and my brothers. It was never for herself. It's because she wanted to get better for me and my brothers. But it's like even in the darkest hour, you're still able to fight through it, kind of thing. Where it's like, but it's like you can't control even something as like abhorrent. I think of alcoholism as a disease because she never wanted that, but that's just what happened. That's what she got infected with, kind of thing. Where it's just that stuff. So it's like you don't want to get caught up in that stuff. But it's like even if you do, and you can think of it even as the way you're stuck in right now, even this mentality, this mindset where it's like you can only think of the end. It's like even that may be like out of your control. You just got to try taking it one step at a time. You're not going to be able to probably just wake up one day and all those thoughts go away. You're going to have to handle it like one tiny bit at a time, but it's going to be worth it because you're struggling, because you're going through pain, that you're going to grow from it. That's where it really comes from.
Ego death to me, I've always heard that fucking term, and I feel like motherfuckers misuse it. What the fuck
ego,
is ego death? I
never really used that term myself, but if I had to like guess, ego death is like, well, I mean, it's like it's like, have you ever heard of the term Sonder?
Sonder.
I haven't.
Sonder basically
like moving
means,
around.
No. Sonder is the concept that in everyone's life they're their own main character, and it's like, I guess what you're
egocentric.
referring to, ego death is, well, I mean, it's like even if you don't have a huge ego, everyone still has an ego of sorts where it's like
losing
you are
that feeling.
Yeah, you're still thinking of yourself because if you think of it, it's like everything is selfish in nature. Even if you donate to charity, that's kind of subconsciously to make yourself feel better or to adhere to like, social constructs and standards and family standards yourself. And stuff. But, it's like if you are to, I've talked about this like multiple times, but I was talking last night as well with Mark about it. Where it's like you're able to break that. You're able to break that sense of everything is selfish and centered around yourself, because the core biological goals of any living thing is to survive and then reproduce. So the cycle continues. That's the core fundamental thing, which means you have to protect yourself so that you may survive. So everything's centered around you since you're born, and it's all from your eyes. So it's like it only makes sense that you're thinking subconsciously always pretty much with yourself at the center of everything.
Gotta look out for yourself.
But to be able to see through the other people's eyes, like to break that paradox, something that like I thought up like 3 years ago, you know, it's so simple and so straightforward and just makes perfect sense. But it's like, if you are able to love another person, you essentially think of them as an extension of yourself. If you act selfishly on the subconscious level for that person to make them feel better, they're technically, in a way, a piece of yourself. So you're acting for yourself, but they are still a separate person. So that's actual true selflessness at the same time. It's both selfish and selfless.
Is this like
But you break the
getting
paradox
at
by
duality?
making you break the paradox by making another
That's what I
paradox.
think
That's
it is.
beyond duality. Yeah, you break. It's like breaking the superposition kind of thing, where you have a
I think
choice.
It's like
I think we need the
it's,
simpler.
Well, yeah. Let me.
it's like metaversing it. I mean,
Okay, but yeah.
I'm able to comprehend.
But yeah, ego death is basically to try and put it in the simplest way possible. It's basically just, it's kind of just thinking of everything as being interconnected, pretty much. Because I mean, everything really is. So it's like, if you think of yourself as like a node in the network kind of thing, you know, where it's like you think of others as pieces of yourself. You think of other living things, other creatures as pieces of yourself. You think of everything around you as part of you, know,
You.
kind of thing. Yeah, you think of them as you. Yeah,
It's a
So-
complete change of psyche.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I so heavily, you know, it's like I wish I looked more like Native, because I so heavily resonate with my Native American like heritage, where like my you know, my grandmother was like full blood Choctaw and all that stuff. But I didn't grow up in that culture, but I found it like through my own kind of self discovery, you know, where it's like I want to, it's like I find so much more respect for that, because their worldview and everything, it's all about respect for nature, coexisting with nature, this beautiful system that's been able to survive across millennia, millions of years, and being able to respect it heavily and be able to be sustainable alongside it, which is a far cry from how we are after the Industrial Revolution, you know. It's like, but back then it's like everything had a soul. It was like pantheism, which basically means that the universe is God and everything is sacred. That's kind of what it is. And then you have the Great Spirit. So it's like, and there's so many stories as well, where it's like, there's this story of this one intersex person. So they're like in between male and female. They were born intersex, where they had one side of their family that was entirely Native American, and then they had another side of their family that was purely hardcore Catholic. Their parents were both Catholic, but their grandma was Native American. And the Catholics, they literally would like take her to church so that she could cough in a napkin to cough out the devil. That's what the pastors would make her do, or make them do.
I see that as
To cough out the,
extremism.
yeah, exactly. It's extremism because it's brought up from
It's
a
taking it to
superstition,
the extreme.
and it's a misinterpretation and distortion of this message that was put in place 2,000 years ago. And by the way, Jesus, like his messages very, very closely follow as well, like Buddhists as well. So he could have been, he's basically kind of a Buddha back then as well, you know. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, but what I'm trying to get at though is like, they view it to be, you know, like this sin, this horrible thing that's happened to them, this plague, and then the grandmother sees it as this beautiful gift where he, them, you know, they have the kindness and tenderness that most men don't have, and then they have
Matter of
the
perspective.
strength, and then they have the strength, and then the, you know, the power that women don't have. So they have she saw it as like this beautiful gift, that's this beautiful thing from the great spirit, you know, where it's like it was like a beautiful things of both worlds, where it was like combining the two, you know. So it's like, it's all perception is reality. Everything is subjective. So it's
Perception.
however you subjectively define it and subjectively perceive reality, that is reality. Simple as that, you know. So it's like however
It is
you
the way you see
reality,
it and how you
that is
interpret it.
reality.
Mm.
That is reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like that's the whole kind of concept of like, you know, Native American kind of thought, where it's like you don't like, when I see a spider in my room, I have a literal glass to my left dedicated to taking them outside, and there have been so many times where there'd be a spider in my room and I will take it outside at 4 a.m, just because I'm like, you know what,
I'll
I
grab
like-
my Taco Bell
yeah,
cup
I'm
and
like,
get the
let me-
bad spiders
I'm
out.
like, get them out into the.
I'll leave like daddy legs.
Because it's like you think of yourself. It's
Every
basically
time
just
I
being it's just being empathetic for every kind of thing, every single person, and like thinking of like not judging them based off of what you first meet them out to be, because there's like you only know this tiny little slice of their life, not this whole entire journey that they've been on. So it's like to think of it more broadly, where it's like, you know, I'm gonna give this person even more chances. You know, it's like even if they're just a complete kind of asshole all around, something had to make them kind of like that, you know. It's like somewhere along the way it had to be, you know, not entirely their fault, you know. So it's like we're all set on these different paths, and it's like there's not one single true good and there's not one single true bad, just what we subjectively determine to be good and bad. Because in some religions, death is seen as a great thing. Some people think, you know, it's like sacrificing, being martyrs. Death is like is an award, and where life is struggle. And then other people think of it as life. And then other cultures will think of life as this beautiful thing, and then death is like the destruction of it. Should
be feared. Yeah.
So it's all entirely down how you define it. Every single word is made up, you know, kind of thing. It's just it's us trying to and then value as well. Everything in my eyes has infinite value, but we subjectively define the value so we can try and organize all these things, because it's a crazy fucking world we're in, you know. If we didn't have the system to try and label things, how are we ever gonna figure it out?
Navigate through life.
At the same time, the whole point as well is that we never really even needed that stuff to begin with. We can just accept it as it comes to us, and it's still just as beautiful. And
I love social constructs.
And it's all about just acceptance, you know. That kind of just...
It's living with pure awareness.
Yeah, it's just being...
It's having the third eye open, metaphorically.
It's just being. It's literally just simply being, yeah.
Yeah.
Living outside time and...
Yeah. Living outside but inside.
Suffer.
Yeah. Where it's like,
yeah.
You know, yeah. Because, I mean, if
everything... Unitarist consciousness.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
As you get older, I feel like it goes further out, like your consciousness, your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it retracts later on.
Yeah.
It's the brain.
Yeah, and then I mean, that's why I also have like the Neon Genesis symbol I was talking about earlier on my laptop, because it's like the concept where it's like in the anime, it's seen as like the villain, the antagonist, where they're trying to combine and bring together every single person's mind, you know, into this one single like thing, like everything returning to one, you know. But it's like at the same time, it's like that's what we kind of already are, you know. It's like we're individual but one, we're all but one, and one is all, you know, kind of thing. And
but we have free will, so we can decide to work with one another or not, and there comes all the problems in the world.
We don't even have the control to know if we do or don't have free will. We don't even have a choice in knowing that. We don't have control over that. So it's like, don't even worry about that either, because we can't ever truly know. Because even if we were to say, for example, we die and we go into some afterlife and something tells us you never had free will to begin with, even then we still have no way, because there could be another like deity higher above it. That dude could have just been lying, but we have no way of fucking knowing. And what if he's like telling the truth, but that's as much as truth as he knows, but the higher power knows that it's like it's worked differently, and it's beyond even our comprehension of their logic outside of this universe could be far different. Our logic could just be a tiny little segment of what they have to work with, and it could be completely beyond. It is beyond our comprehension. That's why it's like, why the fuck are we even trying to worry about that we will never, ever, ever, ever be able to comprehend? And that's why, Kyrie, to bring it back together, you know, it's about just... There's always going to be more shit to worry about. Yeah. And there's another thing. It's to paraphrase a quote. I forget who it's by, but it basically goes something like, your struggle, your pain could be something so detailed and so unique that no one has ever experienced in the same way in the history of mankind or anything ever. But happiness is universal. Happiness is simple. Because
simplicity is divinity.
It's just, you know, complexity from simplicity, simplicity from complexity. That was nearly what I titled.
Simplex.
Well, I had because I've been working on a book about this shit since 2019. That was kind of part of the title for a bit.
And that's kind of funny. I like to say, I just like to remind people, simplicity is divinity. Everything in moderation. Excess is evil. I
That's
cannot
what
think of one
That's
thing
literally-
that would be
that's-
good in excess.
That's literally
not even love.
that's literally what I wrote my my term paper on in
Did you?
environmental critical thinking. Yeah, because I was like I was thinking about because he was like yeah. So my professor was talking about how it's like he wanted us to just pick like one easy subject like climate change or some shit and write about a term paper and do research and shit. You know what I wrote mine on?
What?
The ultimatum to destroy the war. Wait, no, what is it? It was something like the ultimatum, like semicolon, and then it was like destroy ourselves and save the world kind of thing. It was like that. Destroy ourselves, save the world, and it was the whole thing was like, is technology always going to bring up more issues, and should we just like give up on technology, kind of thing, you know, where it's like it's like advancement and always try, but at the same time it's a dilemma, it's a paradox, because that's what makes us human, is that we're curious, that we want change, that we don't want to be static, that we want to always search for more in this crazy fucking beautiful universe. But at the same time, that is what hurts it, because we're anomalies in the system, you know. And you know what's so funny too, I wrote like 10 pages for that paper, but dude gave me a B because I didn't use like the sources he wanted me to. So I was like, okay. He gave me a B plus.
You like to learn,
you know. But I mean, like, I poured like my soul into that paper for real. I mean, that was the only essay I got a B on in college so far. So, but I thought it was good. I forget exactly what you were talking about, but something to do with simplicity is divinity, all that fun stuff. I think that cycles back to religion and ignorance. Like like Zen Buddhism, they use all of that like open-minded awareness as like a communion.
This is a certified hood classic.
Yeah, just simply being,
just being in the moment. If you knew everything from the beginning, like everything there ever was, you would never have an ego. You'd pretty much be God.
It's the heart of
religion.
religion.
So where's your individuality then? That's why we exist now.
And then that's the same reason, like there's so many people as well where it's like it'll say like the world is like, you know, there's so much evil going on, people are so this and that and distorted and misinterpreted.
It comes like, from a place too.
But that is like, I don't think anything necessarily needs to be fixed, period, because it's
I think the systems in
you know,
I think some of the systems in my state are broken, at least. Like
I think it's all exactly how it's supposed to be, because it's like like I said earlier, the whole point isn't to be just God. It's also to experience what he can. It's to be, but also to do.
Good and bad.
Yeah, good.
I think we're on the inverse of God, and that it's infinitely manifesting, and life is just part of it. On the flip side.
Yeah, but what
But that's not dualistic, I don't think.
I do agree with Kaiju. I do think everything is as it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to the yin and yang. Like, there has to be good to be bad.
Yep, exactly.
There has to be bad to be good.
Exactly.
If it was just good, it would just be right. It wouldn't be good, it would just be...
It would only be right. We wouldn't.
Yeah, we wouldn't even know it for what it is. It would just be...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying as well earlier. It's one thing cannot exist without its contrast, because it doesn't stand out without it. If there was only light, you would be blinded. If there was only darkness, you'd be enshrouded. But it's through the dance of contrast between the two that allows reality to form before you.
That's yes, there we go. Yep.
That's something I wrote as well in my shit. But,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, thanks. But you know,
nothing is on accident.
That's how it is, you know, and that's why I view like
there can be no forethought without memory.
Yeah, even the most evilest things that people can do out there, I'm like, you know, even that is necessary, because there's also so many very beautiful, amazing things as well. And it's like you can't truly cherish that once in a moment kind of beautiful feeling if it was only that feeling, because then it wouldn't be once in a moment. It wouldn't stand out, because there would be nothing against it. There would be nothing that's a non-beautiful thing, you know. You need that contrast for it to shine so brightly. It's like stars in the night sky, you know.
Or it wouldn't even be called life.
Yeah.
Shine bright like a diamond.
I'm SpongeBob.
I'm SpongeBob.
I'm SpongeBob.
I'm
I'm smoking
SpongeBob.
weed. I'm
I haven't had to talk like that with anyone since I was like 17.
Oh.
At least in a real conversation like that since I was 17.
What'd you say?
10 years down the road, here I am. I was just saying I haven't had a talk like that with anyone.
Yeah, no, that's cool though. It's good to talk about that kind of stuff. I love that this stuff, like talking about this stuff. Talking about this stuff is like my #1 passion. It's funny because it's like I'll be in.
I can tell.
Yeah, thanks. Like I'll be in. I'll just talk about the shit. People will think I'm a philosophy major. I'm like, nah. Like it's so funny because there's it really is about the self journey, like, you know, Buddhism and stuff. Like if I had to choose one religion, it would basically be Buddhism, but in reality I'm like pantheist, which basically means universe is God and everything is sacred and shit, and like we'll never know for sure if there is a single point of origin like God or not. So it's like might as well, it's like everything is just beautiful in nature. Everything is beautiful, everything is equal, and everything is connected.
Yeah.
That's basically how
We'll never know. Why not just love it all?
Yeah, and then Buddhism, the Buddhism part is just basically just the highest point of you know, mental state, you know. But oh yeah, so what I was saying is like, you know, the personal journey thing. So many of these philosophers and stuff, and so many of these different different concepts and stuff. I didn't even know what stoicism meant until last year, and then I figured out, I'm like, oh, that's what I've been for the last 4 years. I'd be like, oh, I'm like, that's a term for it, you know. And I didn't find out what pantheism was until like not even a month ago. I literally didn't even know what pantheism was until a month ago, and
We're all learning.
And I didn't realize. No, what I'm trying to get at though is like, what I'm trying to get at though is like, you don't even need a term, you know, a label for it to simply still like manifest. You know, it's like it's self-discovery. Like it's just a from within. You know, where it's like, I've been thinking about this stuff since I'm like fucking 6 years old. I'd lay at bed at night and stare at my ceiling every single night, and I'd be like, I'd be like, okay, I'm like, is hell real? I'm like, what if there wasn't a God? I'm like, what if there is no God? It's like, and I would like keep trying to prove my preferred method until it's like I come to a point where it's like, okay, maybe it's just like I straight up, it's like there's just no, you know, maybe it's a different way of thinking I need to go about it, and then it would evolve from there. You know, that's just kind of goes for everybody. You know, that's how it goes for everyone, and everyone's on that set path. Yeah. And then one of the things now that I like to live by is like, there's a quote from the Buddha where it's like, to share your enlightenment is, you know, it surely has to be one of, if not the greatest feeling out there. You know, to share that that open-mindedness. So it's like, that's what I want. That's one of the big things I live for. But it's also to experience as much as I can. Because that's also the big point, the big reason why we're here is to experience and to make our own story, you know, because we're actively, and there's another thing as well that I bring up a lot. It's like, what would the universe be without something there to experience it, without something to perceive it, without something to live through?
Would it even exist?
Exactly. That's exactly, yeah, because it's, if you don't perceive it, it doesn't exist. So if there's nothing to perceive it, does it even exist? And it's from our perspective viewpoints. Like, you know, like some creatures see different colors and hear different sounds and all that stuff. It all just formulates their perspective, their window into this universe. But if there's no windows into the universe, what lets the light in? You know, if there's a room, like, you know, think of a house with windows. Think of the house now with no windows. How's light gonna get in? How do you even know what's inside? It's basically not there.
You need the wisdom to know beforehand.
Exactly, but you can't do that until you go in there with a light.
With light, yeah.
It's just all dark. It's just nothing, basically. It's an absence.
Gotta change the situation first.
So it's like, you know, that's what it's, you know.
You can't get anywhere in the dark.
So yeah, no, we are the.
You wander aimlessly.
We are the light that's illuminating the universe, not literally, but, you know, metaphorically. You know, we are what makes it have meaning to us, you know. Meaning comes from the meaningless is something that also I kind of say, but it's just all about, you know. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. So that also further indicates that all these different other living creatures are just as beautiful, and we all came from the same source, including every single atom in the universe, you know, kind of thing. So it's even all the particles, we all are in unison with them, you know. And
I like to just say it's all energy.
You think of as well the concept of gravity, where for the force of gravity to be zero, because it's over distance. Distance would have to be infinite. For gravity to be zero, distance would have to be infinite, which is basically the entire universe we're pulling on, and it's pulling on us. Even if it is unbelievably tiny of a force pulling on us, and us to them, equal and opposite, dualism once again, yin and yang, it's still there. And we're still, like, interconnected by just something that we know is to be, you know, within, very much so within the physical world. Even that, like, in science, everywhere. It's just, it's so simple.
All the stuff out nowadays is pretty much like a
complexity to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Woods of Finland, my mother. And she was always like, love everything. Everything is good. It's like, okay. Easy.
That's it. If I had a kid, I wouldn't want to implant any, like, bad kind of thought into their mind. You know?
If I have a kid, I'm gonna beat his ass. Got a headshot for saying
if
that.
it gets... I don't know, it would have to spiral down to that point, I would imagine. To even get that bad.
They're gonna do something stupid, I'm just gonna get pissed off.
Hit the gritty for the Ukraine.
Yeah, so if I have my kid saying that, he's gonna, like, oh my god.
You did not just say gritty for Ukraine.
Yeah.
You are going to explode.
You're like Bobby, who's hitting the gritty for the UK.
Explode England.
But yeah, and then it's... And then whenever I talk about this stuff with other people, it always gets to a point where it's like there's nothing else left to say, and then we just simply be again. So that's like that point where it's like there's just nothing else.
To get to, and it's hard.
Yeah. And it's like once you realize there's not a realization. It's like once you realize it, it's like you're there, and it's like you're past that milestone. So it's like come to accept it kind of thing. So it's like you talk about it and then it gets to a point where it's like there's nothing else to say. It's because it's just that's what it is.
Bar.
That's what
it gets to the point where it's bar.
Where's
basically.
I am like hyper fixated and obsessed with bar.
You get to a point where you're happy and content.
My entire life I love bar.
And we are on the same page.
Yeah. And if everyone were to get to
and
the
I
point
can't wait to do it again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Samsara. Sheesh.
Real life. But you guys are super chill for being able to talk about that. Very, very, very cool people.
We live in a samsara. We live in a metaphorical matrix, or maybe even a real one. Yeah. Maybe there's a supercomputer on top of Saturn relaying the matrix.
My stupid fucking video I made where it's like the Dyson sphere,
yeah,
the Matryoshka brain. Where you can totally be in one, and then it's that's the infinite staircase down.
Matryoshka brain.
Yeah, the Matryoshka. Yeah, no, because it could be just an infinite staircase down where it's like each universe creates another Matryoshka brain, and then that one is replicated. We live inside that one, and then we create another one from scratch, and then we live inside that one.
And inside.
Yeah. Yep. Like the Russian dolls. Yeah.
It's like the Rick and Morty. We start our own universe in a universe. How many universes deep are we then? Yeah. But I wouldn't want to believe that.
An infinite amount.
Doing something in a finite life and then going to an eternal hell also seems kind of like nonsense to me.
Yeah, no,
the Bible's a fucking book full of fables, dog. It's not a
No, literally the Bible is just a glorified children's moral story. The Bible is just the Bible is just a glorified children's moral story for adults and children alike. It's like when you read a story to a kid like, oh, the giraffe did this to the hippopotamus and this is what happened to him because he was a mean guy. That's what it basically is, glorified. And then
So-
converted across a billion different religions, in different languages. And then when it spreads to different like areas, like 500 years after Jesus died, it spreads over to Great Britain. And then the first paintings of Jesus are made, which
Imagine
are based
telling a
after
story
Zeus and the
thousands
king,
of times.
who are white, whereas Jesus was born in the Middle East, and he definitely would have had darker skin, because that's just simply how pigmentation works, based on where you are born, like from the equator. So, and then like it's so stupid, racism and all that shit playing to it. It's just stupid ideologies. That just comes up from
You don't comply,
misinterpretation.
I'm gonna blow your fucking head off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Kaiju, I do have a question. We
Bar.
may have gone over it.
What's up?
Do you believe in like a reincarnation or like life after passing?
That's the thing. It's like when it comes to all that stuff in the afterlife, I'm like perfectly in like pretty much like kind of the middle between one or the other, like yes and no, because it could very well be one or the other, and I don't know until I'm there. So it's like worrying about it
I'm
is
just here to smoke
kind
weed.
of
right
not a big
now.
deal. So it's like, but I personally, I think what makes most sense is that after we're gone, we're just gone. We're just no longer there.
Gone.
But in
In
time,
collective one.
because you know how everything is. You know, there's something I like to say as well, and I literally named one of my Spotify playlists this, but it's you exist in time, but you belong to eternity, because we are a finite.
Matter cannot be created nor destroyed.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, a
we're
lot
in a
of
finite.
conservation energy.
We're in a
Yeah.
finite. You know, a
Bitch ass
finite.
nigga.
We're
Hell yeah.
finite creatures encapsulated by infinity. So everything comes from the same origin point, including time. So that means to that origin point, outside of time, it is timeless. It is a singularity. It has no beginning, has no end. There's only change, which is a quote I like to fucking use a lot from a fucking Papa Roach song. But there's but that means to that origin point, every single instance of time within that system is forever and never, including us. So that's what I find so beautiful, is that once we're gone, even if we're totally gone, and it's not even darkness, because you can't even tell it's dark if you're not even existent, and you can't sense time or anything, even still, everything that you did, even though it was for just an instant, a series of instances in this tiny little dot in the entire timeline of the universe, it still exists for infinity, because value is, everything's infinite value and everything is timeless,
Hey, asshole.
Yeah, no, there's I just have a habit of saying "bar," but it's like I love them so much because they resonate highly with the Native American kind of shit for me, and it's also because I literally
Right.
You ever watch Save Your Renegade
I
Angel?
literally was obsessed with them before I even knew what they were, like literally. And they're an emotional tie to my grandma and my mom as well. So that's
And they got cloacas.
that's a
I
big
think it's
thing.
pretty cool to piss shit and
What?
pee out the same hole. Okay, my bad.
Oh, what
Okay.
the fuck?
But it's
I
also,
barely even know.
especially it's like what
That's hella out of pocket.
what they
bro.
symbolize. It's like just being free, pretty much, and it's just
Right.
just being and just simple, And then there's also, of course, you can go even further with the symbolism, where like the owl represents, like all-seeing eye kind of thing,
I'll
And-
sing. Yeah.
Yeah, using a lot of type of shit like that.
Drake. Fuck 12. Fuck 12.
I had a huge obsession with birds as like when I was little,
Mhm.
and
Birds are cool.
I think that might have something to do with why I fly.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Free spirit.
yeah. No, that was one of the things I always thought about. I'm like, flying would be the coolest thing ever to be able to do. And that's the thing. When I was younger, I used to always pray, like every single night. I would pray, one, for my mom to get better and never do drugs again. And I would also always pray, I'd be like, hey, God, if I'm to be reincarnated, make me something cool like a bald eagle. Make me an
Yeah.
eagle or an owl. And so that's it's pretty funny how that all works out.
Come back as a seagull eating French fries off the dock.
Yeah, I mean that'd be still dope though, because I could just fly over the ocean.
Yeah.
One of the big things for me is I want to get
Seagull?
I want to get like a houseboat, someday. Like I want to live in like someplace in Europe or something, or maybe Iceland, and I want to get a house. I want to own a houseboat. I don't even need an actual house. I don't give a shit about money. I just want to be able to have enough to get by in this subjective system. But I want to be able to someday have a houseboat, and I want to go out into the ocean, like by myself, maybe with friends, but probably by myself at least once. And I want to just be out there where the water's completely still and I don't see anything in any direction, and it's just me, the water, and then the sky. That's literally
He leadeth me.
It would be literally a slice of heaven, because you were just the most zen, one of the most zen places I can think of, just standing on a infinite source of just still water, you know. That's
Not only that, in a place of comfort.
exactly, yeah. So it's just there, and then there's just peace and quiet as well. It's just like I could I would happily be able to just die there, you know, kind of thing, you know. I'm like that's where I'm gonna be able to just be like, you know what, this is fucking awesome, and then that's all I need, you know, kind of thing. So yeah.